Welcome to Brewsers, a podcast about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. I am your host, Rody John, and today we talk to Dr. Austin Cook. We talk all about judo, jiu-jitsu, bad boy medicine, and becoming a doctor. This is such a fun conversation. We get into breaking down exactly how the human body works and how he discovered even more about his judo and jiu-jitsu game by actually being a doctor. And again, Bad Boy Medicine, you can check him out on his Instagram. We obviously go into it, so I won't go too much into it now, but it's a fantastic breakdown so that you could even be a better jiu-jitsu player or judo player. So we'll get right into that. But first, make sure to sign up for our newsletter. It comes out twice a week. You get even more information about our guests. You get fun facts, and you get to find out what's happening with your favorite podcast all about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. So without further ado, here is Dr. Austin Cook. I would like to welcome to the show Austin Cook. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. So for those wondering right now, where are you? What's around you? Kind of paint us a word picture as to what's going on with you right now.
Oh man, like right this instant right now?
Yeah.
Well, the building I have does not have great cell service, so I am parked looking a little bit sketchy probably in a random neighborhood that does have good cell service. And so I guess you could say I'm loitering. So that's what I'm doing immediately.
It's funny you say that. I'm at work right now, and so I'm in another city. You know, I'm on a construction site, and I've done podcasts in the past where I just kind of, you know, I'm in the same neighborhood, but I'll just kind of peel off a little bit to where it's not as noisy and there's no buzzing or anything. And so I was doing an interview, and there was all of a sudden this black SUV pulled up behind me, and I was like, what's going on here? And then all the lights come on, and I was like, oh, well, this is fun. So I had to pause my interview. The guy was very understanding about the whole situation. He thought it was funny, and he said he was going to bail me out if anything happened. But it just older people in the neighborhood just, you know, would see me kind of pull off and, you know, be away for like 30, 45 minutes, and they didn't know what was going on. So trying to explain to a small town cop how you're doing podcast interviews was very entertaining.
At first I thought you were going to say he pulled up behind you and it was another guy doing a podcast.
Then we just switch phones and we just take each other's podcast for each other.
Yeah, collab.
Yeah. That would be hilarious. No, I completely understand about having to, you know, pull away for, you know, better cell service or more quietness or however you need.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So what is your earliest memory of martial arts?
Let's see. So, I started, I guess, martial arts a little bit late in the game. If you kind of compare it to the current landscape of kids starting like when they're, I don't know, like 10, 8, or even before that. I was, 14, about to turn 15. I was actually in a history class, and we got to choose a topic. And I think it was in like a Japanese sort of history portion of the history class. And so I had no idea what judo was, but I just kind of saw it and honestly probably thought like, oh, this would be an easy one. Picked that, and then when I was writing my report, I went to YouTube and just kind of watched some videos and kind of get a sense of what judo was, and then found myself continuing to watch it hours later, I guess out of interest rather than just trying to kind of finish the assignment that was kind of allotted to me. And I remember I was at the computer. This was kind of back in the day before a lot of people had laptops. I certainly didn't as a kid. And so we're at the kind of family computer, and I called my dad over and I was like, whoa, Dad, check this out. And it's just people throwing each other, wearing these bathrobe looking things that I now call these. And so I did that. I watched it. I think it was a good one for me to pick because it's so spectacular, judo. And you don't really have to know much about it to kind of appreciate somebody going flying through the air. And then I talked to my mom about, hey, like, Mom, like, you kind of see if there's any places around here that teach this. Showed up the first day, I didn't have a gi. Just showed up with like a sweatshirt and sweatpants. So that was my first class, and immediately loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. Kind of became obsessed with it. And the rest is history. No pun intended with the history class. Yeah.
It is funny what happens, when just little sparks like that will kind of, obviously ignite a fire like it did with you. And it's always fun to see kind of where people's journey is when it comes to, what they are picking up on and what is kind of like spinning the wheels in their head to be like, oh, what more to this is there, and how much can I learn on my own? And I mean, I'm glad, obviously, this journey has worked out very well for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, I think, I don't know where I'd be in life if I didn't have judo, but I think it was essential. It's funny, it's probably, I mean, I think school probably tries to kind of, like, that's their goal with a lot of things, like sparking interest in something. And if the sort of, I don't know, like school administrators were to sit around and kind of tier various things to really get somebody motivated about, like math, like science, writing, whatever, judo would probably be low down on the list, but can't help it. Got hooked.
Yeah, I mean, it worked for you, so, and now you're here. I mean, you competed in judo where you're a national and U.S. Open champion, not to mention a World Cup medalist. And people hear about, having judo experience when it comes to mixed martial arts, but a lot of them don't really understand what the martial art is. Can you explain to us a little bit of what judo is and how it is different from other forms of martial arts?
Yeah, and honestly, I think really jiu-jitsu has been really helpful in terms of kind of both spreading awareness for these kind of weird grappling gi-based sports, and also I think an analogy that a lot of people kind of get quickly is in jiu-jitsu, maybe it's, 10% stand-up, 90% on the ground. The inverse of that is judo, so it's 90% stand-up, 10% on the ground. So you have very short time, almost like blitz jiu-jitsu. When you get to the mat, you can submit. We don't have leg locks, but we have chokes and arm bars. You can pin as well. And a pin is just getting past half guard or guard and holding somebody there. But really the sort of, I guess, cornerstone of it is based around what we call an ippon. So you can achieve that through a submission or pin, or you can throw, which is how the majority of matches are ended. And in a way, it's similar to freestyle or Greco wrestling, where you get more points based on, like back exposure and sort of the amplitude of the throw. And so that's how most of the matches end. And with the gi, it really changes the dynamic because you can control somebody from very far away. I mean, as soon as you make contact with a gi, so if they're reaching to you, you're reaching them, you get like a couple fingers on their sleeve, that's enough to throw somebody, whereas in grappling sports without a gi, it's hard to get enough torque, but a gi kind of just kind of secures handles all over your body, and so you can immediately generate like a tremendous amount of throwing power with pretty minimal contact. And it also changes it because in wrestling, and let's, for the analogy, let's kind of just ignore the fact that you can kind of achieve some acceleration by pulling on somebody to accelerate yourself downward, but really you're limited by gravity and how fast you can move, how fast you can drop. Whereas in judo and gi-based sports, you can beat gravity by pulling very quickly down and whipping yourself under. So it's very, very fast. So the throws, it's much easier to throw, but the sort of caveat to that is if you don't really know what you're doing with gripping, it's also very easy to shut somebody down by kind of having your hands in the appropriate place and preventing shots. In MMA, I think it's probably the person most people know is Ronda, obviously.
Yeah.
Who kind of pioneered judo. Kayla Harrison's been doing it. My first exposure was through Kara Parisian, who I still think is the best athlete to kind of implement judo. And actually, I was really the first person I learned it from via a DVD that I bought. And this was right when Amazon was kind of just becoming a thing. I remember for Christmas, I was like, I just want one thing. It's this judo for no gi video. And I just watched it over and over, Kara teaching these throws. And funny enough, those are the ones that now I do the most, coming back and I'm kind of getting more involved in jiu-jitsu and implementing judo in a no-gi situation now.
Yeah.
And he really, man, he is so good and yeah.
What do you think it is about him that really kind of, I mean, obviously you watched it over and over again, so you kind of learned a lot about the martial art from him, but what do you think it is about him that you think is, better than everybody? Because, I mean, like you said, Ronda really kind of, she really helped with female MMA. She's one of the pioneers. And then also, like you said, she's known for being, this Olympic judo champion. And then obviously she came to MMA and really brought the the art of judo to MMA. But why do you think it is about Parisian that really kind of stuck with you?
I think so. With Ronda, she did a lot for both sports, but the reality is that the kind of female division at that time wasn't nearly as deep as Kara was. It was. I think he fought welterweight. I mean, he was in the GSP's division. He Nick Diaz. He beat Nick Diaz, and I think really what was effective about his sort of style is the region that kind of his heritage was from. So he's Armenian, and it's kind of from a similar part of the world as now you see these Dagestani boys coming up and really implementing this hybrid grappling style. And so when they're doing judo and when they're training, really they're doing judo, they're wrestling, they're doing jiu-jitsu, catch wrestling. Everything, but really they're just grappling. Those boys are growing up grappling and they learn from one, apply it to the other. They have the same thing that I do, I think, now with jiu-jitsu is I have an idea in gi, I apply it to no gi, then in no gi I have an idea for, vice versa, going back and forth. But it wasn't just kind of growing up in a pure, one sport or one grappling sport-based culture. It's just they're all together and it's grappling at its core, and I think that's what really kind of set him apart. And now you're seeing that more and more, right? With Islam Makhachev, Khabib, guys. There's another Dagestani boy fought 145, tall guy, Sharapov, I think. He's not fighting anymore, but him too. All these guys are just so dangerous, and all the grappling styles kind of bleed together because they all work, right? They all work, and you just got to know when to use what, depending on your opponent, depending on the setting. And so I think he was sort of one of the first people, to really understand that and capitalize on it.
That's amazing. Yeah. Again, it's one of those things that it's amazing what will stick with somebody and that fact that he really helped you get even further into that sport is quite amazing as well.
Yeah, because when I first started, I wanted to do something that was, I didn't have my heart set on trying to be like a really competitive judo athlete immediately. I wanted something, I wanted to know how to defend myself, and so it was appealing to me to see this Judo for No-Gi DVD set. And so, yeah, I in a way he kind of made it seem cool for me.